up? Big Herc 916. Positivity, motivation. Never settle for average. You know how we do it over here. Go pick you up some merch at nsfa.co. You know, I always tell people, man, sometimes what you see is not what you get. And with the day and age of social media, people can put on a hell of a persona. And what blows me away is this whole FTX collapse. And Sam Bankman-Fried, you wonder, how did this guy pull this off over all these investment bankers and venture capitalists that are supposed to be at the top of the game? And yet if you try something, you can't get away with a damn business loan. All who you know, man. All who you know. This is what, one of the youngest billionaires under 30? Cover of Forbes magazine. And now it's one of the biggest crypto bankruptcies in history. It's amazing, man. And they said this guy was the second largest donor to the Democratic Party behind George Soros, and one of the largest donators to the liberal movement. Mind blowing, man. Massive crypto debacle. So he's resigned. He's over in the Bahamas. We'll see how long it takes before he's actually indicted, because this makes what Bernie Madoff did look like child's play. I mean, this guy, he had meetings with people, I believe, that were involved with the Federal Trade Commission. It was a digital currency exchange, a platform where people could buy and sell digital assets like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and Ether. So it was, FTX was similar to like Binance, Coinbase, you know, some of the other platforms that you could trade crypto on. And man, this guy, he blew up, man. He was founded in 2019, and he quickly rose to international prominence through a series of high-profile acquisitions, aggressive marketing strategies, and low trading fees. Competitor platforms include Kraken, Coinbase, and Gemini. Even those unfamiliar with the technology were lured to FTX with promise that they could park their money in accounts and earn much higher yields than at a traditional bank. So he had people putting in money just to get the interest. I believe it was, you know, over 5-6%. So if you had a decent amount of money in there, you were getting double, triple what a typical traditional bank was giving out as far as on a savings account. And he seemed to be the wonderkind. They called him the JP Morgan of cryptocurrency. Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX 30-year-old founder, became the face of the company, and to some crypto at large, celebrity endorsements and major sports sponsorships made FTX hard to miss. He had, I believe, a stadium named after him in Miami, and also I think a basketball stadium named after him, arena. They said the first red flags: not long after Bankman-Fried started FTX, crypto began to boom. The price of Bitcoin, which had traded around 10,000, shot up in 2021, peaking at more than 64,000. Venture capital money flooded into all things blockchain and crypto platforms moved to attract customers beyond the technologists and blockchain evangelists that once fueled its rise. But things began to change earlier this month when the balance sheet of crypto investing firm that was also owned by Bankman, called Alameda Research, was published by CoinDesk, a crypto-focused digital media website. So Alameda, they said, was being ran by his girlfriend, who was the CEO, and they were pretty much, they said, engaged in a high-powered Ponzi scheme. It said Alameda held a large amount of digital currency created by FTX called FTT, and though that FTT held a certain market value, if the price were to drop, Alameda would be at risk of insolvency. So he literally had a trading platform, created his own money, therefore became a quasi bank in a sense, where he was funding his own projects with a make-believe money, FTT, and converting it to legitimate money through whatever trades that they could, put together. So it was like these guys were printing money out of thin air. FTT, the digital token created by FTX that is similar to cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Many crypto platforms now create their own tokens as a way to encourage people to use their services by offering perks associated with their tokens. So yeah, man, FTT is no different than a lot of the other platforms that create their own cryptocurrency, but this guy, they took it to a whole nother level. And man, they were making some big moves with their FTT. And man, when the house of cards came down, it came down. After Alameda, they said balance sheet was leaked. Changpeng CZ Zhao, CEO of crypto platform Binance, a rival of FTX, announced on November 6th that his company would sell off all TT tokens. And when he said that, the price of FTT dropped sharply. So within 48 hours to 72 hours, FTT, the cryptocurrency, lost 80% of its value, and that caused a panic. If it wouldn't have been for the CEO, Zhao, of Binance announcing the tweet that they were going to sell their FTT tokens off, he probably could have kept this massive Ponzi scheme going, and nobody would have knew that they didn't have the finances to cover their spreadsheet. Because apparently these guys, they did no accounting. They said as the price dropped, many FTX customers moved to withdraw their assets from the platform. And though the extent of the connections between Alameda and FTX were not yet public, a series of recent crypto platforms collapses had already put the crypto community on edge. So, man, it only takes one turn of the market, kind of like when Bernie Madoff, man, when people started calling in their investments and he couldn't cover, that's when it was exposed that he really didn't have what the investors had put into the company. He had basically tricked it off. What was not yet public was the extent of the connections between Alameda and FTX and how bad things had gotten for Bankman-Fried's companies. Those connections began to become clear in the days following FTX's move to stop withdrawals, as with its financial challenges. Media organizations including Bloomberg, the Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal, and others have cited anonymous sources saying that FTX needed $8 billion to cover the gap between what it owed and what it could pay out. So these guys owed a ton of money. NBC News has not yet verified those reports, and Bankman-Fried said in an interview Monday with a Vox journalist over Twitter DM that he needed to raise $8 billion in the next 2 weeks to make things right with account holders. The Wall Street Journal and CNBC, also citing anonymous sources, reported that Alameda had used FTX funds for trading. And you can't do that. You can't use funds from one financial institution to another institution to trade privately through that company's accounts with customers finances. You can't do that. That's illegal. That's like saying if you work at um, Goldman Sachs or let's just say um, one of the other trading institutions, and you're trading clients' money for your own gain without the knowledge of without the client doesn't have knowledge of you trading their funds without their permission. That's illegal. That's fraud. Um, in a series of text messages to routers, Bankman-Fried denied funds had been furtively funneled from one company to the other. He blamed the transfers on an internal mislabeling issue. Um, he said that's because FTX and its sister companies allegedly didn't follow standard financial reporting procedures. Go figure. How you wonder how could anybody, as far as these venture capitalists and big banks, loan this kind of money to somebody like this who didn't have the proper accounting. You wonder why they didn't do some type of major audit of their books before they invested all in. I mean, there's a lot of things that just don't add up, man, especially when you're talking about, having dealt with other major Wall Street fraud cases or situations where, these companies really didn't have their corporate side together and it was all a scam. Crazy, man. It said right here, this guy, it said Ray called FTX poor management and financial opacity unprecedented. Never in my career have I seen such a complete failure of corporate controls and such a complete absence of trustworthy financial information as occurred here. Yeah, man, this is like this is like mind blowing, man, when you look at this whole fraud situation. Ray wrote that the company has thus far secured $740 million of cryptocurrency held by various companies that made up FTX and Alameda, a number that is only a fraction of what they hope to recover. It says, Zal, one of FTX's first investors, stepped in to make a play for his former rival on November 8th. He announced that Binance would purchase FTX for an undisclosed amount and what would essentially constitute a bailout for the beleaguered firm, but Binance quickly backed out, with Zal citing reports that FTX had mismanaged user funds and information gleaned during their standard due diligence process that accompanies such deals. Bankman-Fried has acknowledged the company's problems on Twitter, where he remains active. Last week, he posted a lengthy thread that started, "One, I'm sorry, that's the biggest thing." Huh. Yeah. Ah, man. So they're now being investigated by the Securities Exchange Commission and Department of Justice. And this article right here, this is November 18th, so this is right before Thanksgiving. And so as of right now, the latest is these guys, I think, are still in the Bahamas, and they filed for protection in the U.S. after traders pulled $6 billion from the platform in 3 days. So yeah, they're in some shit, man. You gotta. I mean, anybody that is a savvy investor can sometimes still get involved in investments that they could lose their ass in. I mean, Bernie Madoff got some people who were, institutional investors, people that were very sharp, and he was able to pull it off, with some clever accounting. This guy, I don't see that his accounting was really clever, but he had a lot of celebrities backing him. I mean, he had Steph Curry. They said he had Tom Brady had invested with him. He had major endorsements.
Stop walking around with a crusty butt, smelly ball sack, and a funky hoo-ha. Big Herc said, wash that ass. Pick you up a t-shirt at freshoutseries.com.
Hello, I'm Big Herc 916. Contact me for life coaching and motivational speaking.